Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me to come and talk about law enforcement in our county. We'll go through the presentation after dinner, so just a little bit, it'll be in my presentation too. Berrien County is a beautiful place to live and raise your family, 585 square miles. Our population has shrunk, which we hope will work its way back up again. In the 70s, we had 175,000 people living in Berrien County, and in the 70s predicted in 2012 we were supposed to have 215,000 people living in Berrien County during the time of the 70s when we had all the plants and stuff across the county. And then all of a sudden they closed down and we lost population, and our population now is 156,000. So hopefully that will grow in the future and more people will come to this beautiful area that we live. Kelly Lesh is here. She's my crime prevention specialist. So she puts on programs throughout the whole county for the school district. She does Triad, a program for seniors. And then we have a lot of other things that she does just to be out there communicating with the public, to make them aware of what's going on in their townships or villages or cities, so that we can educate them on how to be safe. And that's the biggest part. And of course, our most important commodity is our children. And so we always want to reach out to our children to make good choices. And that's why I have a full-time person dedicated to get into the schools. And we work very closely. There's 23 police departments in Berrien County. And as the sheriff, it's my job to work very closely with those chiefs to make sure that everything is getting addressed. The Constitution says it's my responsibility to make sure that criminal calls are being taken. So if a police department didn't take a call, it would be my responsibility to make sure that call got investigated. But they call us for assistance, so our department will assist departments like Buchanan and Bridgman and Baroda Lake with our special teams when they need accident reconstructionists or they need a crime scene specialist. That's what we do. We will come in and process that scene, make sure that all evidence is collected properly and then tagged and put into our evidence room until it is examined in our lab that we have at the Empire building, or we bag it up and mark it and take it up to the state police crime lab to be analyzed, so that when our cases come forward that we have all the evidence that is needed for that trial. So there's a lot of things going on. Our emergency management office, Captain Rocky Adams is the coordinator for our emergency management. We have Sergeant Ron Bush and we have Dave Elbers assigned to that unit. People don't realize that in the United States, we're the only county in the United States that's affected by 2 nuclear plants. Cook plant is in Berrien County and Palisades is in Van Buren County, but if something happened, we would have to evacuate more people than they would because it goes out 10 miles. So lots of planning with the NRC and FEMA. We have to do a drill every year for one of the nuclear plants. So this year we do the Cook plant, next year we do Palisades, so we never get a break, So, and then the other nuclear plant in Michigan is located over on the east side of the state, and those are the only 3 in the state of Michigan. So we work very closely with the Michigan State Police, addressing those threat and risk assessments in our county. So keeps us very busy. I think, by saying that, I'm very blessed to have very dedicated men and women working to do these hard jobs. We have special teams. We have a hazmat team that we have. We'll do that when we do the program. And we have like 23 people on that. They have to go through lots of extra training. They have to still do their number 1 job, either in the enforcement division or in the jail division, and then they have to go through lots of training. We have a bomb team, and Kelly's husband is the leader of the bomb team. So, they have to go through lots of training. They have to get certified every year by the FBI to continue on with our bomb team. We have a tactical team. So that team is used for high-risk search warrants, or if something happened at the nuclear plants, we'll be able to respond and take out the threat. That's what we're supposed to be able to do. That's part of our responsibility by having the Cook Nuclear Plant here when all the threats that are going across our country. And we train twice a month with our tactical team because they're going in and they're going to go into dangerous situations, and I want those men and women on that team to be well trained, just like you expect them to be. And that's another thing that I'm very proud of in our county, that our police officers get lots of training, especially at the Sheriff's Department. We train, because I think that's important. You see things that happen, and training always comes up, when something happens. Did they get the proper training? Did they have diversity training? Did they have, defensive tactic training? Do they know what tool to use in what situation? As I always say, we have a tool belt on, and I don't have all the tools on my belt. I don't have a taser or a baton, the collapsible baton that the deputies wear on the road. I don't have no vest on. That's all me. I should say I have a vest on, right? But
No Kevlar.
no Kevlar. I have one. I do wear when I'm out working the road. So as the sheriff, it's my number one responsibility to run the jail, make sure it's run properly, make sure we are doing what the Department of Corrections says we have to do, make sure that we're not just incarcerating prisoners, but we have programs for inmates that are in our jail. So we have 10 different programs. We're constantly doing things with the inmates to help them get on track. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is that we're trying to address drug issues and drug addiction. So we have 2 people that come in and evaluate inmates that have drug issues, and they are trying to get them into a program once they leave our jail to get rid of those drug addictions, because we all know when we hear about houses being broken into, I don't know if anybody in here has had their house broken into. I've been blessed, my house has never been broken into, but I've had friends that have had their house broken into, is that most of the time when we catch the people, they're all addicted to drugs, cocaine, heroin, meth, and they're breaking into houses to steal things to buy the drugs that they need for their habit. So I strongly encourage people as I walk around the jail, if they do have a drug problem, that they get evaluated by these 2 evaluators, and then they get into a program afterwards. You can get your GED while you're in our jail. Now that's coming a little bit harder now because they upped the ante on that. So we're not giving up, so we're going to still be teaching classes. We have 2 teachers that come in Monday through Friday, and they meet with inmates that are eligible to come down to the class, which are probably 15 to 20 at times. We have a female and a male, so that way we bring females and males down, but they have to be separate in the class, one on this side, one on this side, and there has to be a female teacher in there if there's females in there. So our male population, our female population are separate. When I started law enforcement in '78, but when they built onto the jail, the original jail was built in 1951, and then August of 1981, there was an addition put on, and that made our capacity 341. And the female section was supposed to be two dorms for females, because we were lucky to have 10 to 12 females in jail, sometimes 5. But now, over the last several years, we've seen that female population continue to grow. So sometimes we're up to 5 dorms for females. That means we have to use our gymnasium that's been approved by the Department of Corrections to house people because of the overcrowding problem that we have at the jail at times. So, and I would rather have, sometimes I'd rather have 500 males than 70 females, because sometimes they're very difficult to deal with. But, and their issues are drugs, alcohol, a lot of retail fraud that they do, and Marletta Seats and Dwayne Seats puts on a program inside our jail. It's kind of a program to that they talk about what got them there and what they need to do not to come back. And they've been two great big programs, especially for the females. Marletta sees at times 20 to 30 females in her class, and she brings speakers in, and we have a classroom up there that she can show videos and just addressing their issues so that they hopefully can get out and become productive citizens. That's what we all want to see. And as the good Christian communities that we have throughout Berrien County, it's our job to get people back on track, not just to lock them up and throw the key away. Now, some people that commit terrible crimes, of course, they got to go to prison and serve their time. And in the county jail, we only house people up to a year. Anything over a year, they go to prison. So that's just a few things before
They do 360 days with you, and then you ship them on to another place, or?
No, it's when they're sentenced. If they're sentenced to over a year, they go right out to prison. And we deliver them to Jackson. Everybody in the state of Michigan goes to Jackson. They're there for 30 days and get screened, and then they're taken to whatever prison in the state, depending on their classification and depending on their crime. Yes.
I've been attending the commissioner meetings, which is how we met. So I've been real fascinated by how that all just kind of is so intertwined. So do you report to the commissioners as a matter of courtesy, or how are they in the infrastructure on where you go for funding? And
yeah, she's asking, do I report to the county commissioner, and how is the funding for me? I'm elected, so the county commissioners are my funding sources. I set, as the sheriff, all policies and procedures for the sheriff's office. I do all the hiring and firing, but I report once a month to them and tell them some of the things that we're doing throughout the county, or if there's something that comes up that I feel is going to cause problems with my budget, I give them a heads up, because I'm looking at my budget every day or every week. I have a meeting with my captains and my lieutenants in my office every Wednesday at 9 o'clock from 9 to 11:30, and we go over everything that's happening in the jail, everything that's happening on the road, how many cases we have, what the budget looks like, if something broke down and we didn't budget for this year. So I report to the administrative committee. They have 3 subcommittees, and then they have the committee of whole at 10:30. So I report to the administrative committee. So if I see a problem, I go and report it to them, so it gives them a heads up that I may have a issue. But so far, knock on wood, in 15 years, I've always been in the black in my budget, so thank God for that. But it is a living document. We're changing things, we're moving line items around, or something happens and we've got something in the budget that we were going to order. I may stop that because something else happened, and we're going to have to wait till next year to see if we can get that budgeted, so we don't go over budget. And the county commissioners have been very great to work with, addressing public safety issues. It's very important to them that our communities are safe and that we have the adequate resources that we need. Now, we also, when the budget got bad, we had to cut. I had to cut 16 deputies out of my complement. So that was very difficult. We didn't have to lay anybody off. It was all from retirements. But this year, I got one of those deputies back. So things are getting a little bit better. The budget is getting a little better. The economy is a little better. So that's good news. So what I did is we have another detective sergeant up in the detective bureau, because all of our cases, take lots of follow-up. So our detective bureau, who oversees that for me, is Lieutenant Greg Sanders. He's a Lakeshore boy down here, graduated from Lakeshore. Excellent in what he does, very dedicated. And when it gets busy, he just works around the clock. I sometimes got to tell him, Greg, you got to go home and get some sleep. But when stuff happens in the county, the men and women that are working for you take it very seriously and put lots of extra hours into to make it happen. I also have a great relationship with the city of Benton Harbor. I've worked with the chiefs that they had over the years, Walker, Wright, Harris, Mingo, Lang, and now Dan McGinnis. And things have, and something that we ought to be very proud of, have gotten so much better in Benton Harbor. You know, so we'll continue to address those social issues and try to combat what's going on. But as you look at things going across our country, you know, what was it back in 98, 99? There was 20 murders in 1 year in Benton Harbor. So we haven't had those issues, and I think Dan McGinnis, being the new chief, he had a forum last night. He did a great presentation. The issue was there wasn't a whole lot of people there. So he's going to have 2 more, so he's going to try to get out and get people to come to, so they can have some input about what the policing is happening in Benton Harbor. Dan was able to go out and get a grant, so every Benton Harbor officer is wearing a body cam now.
Wow.
So anything that happens or any contact they have with the public is all being recorded inside and outside, you know, outdoors or inside a residence. We all in Berrien County have video systems in our squad cars, so we have video. So anytime a deputy comes in contact with a citizen that's making a complaint, the video has to be on and recorded. So everything that's said both ways is recorded. Now you may not be able to see what's going on, because if you're not standing in front of the squad car, you're not going to see that. Now there's been lots of issues. A lot of people want to see everybody, all police officers, get a body cam. The issue is that we're trying to address, and I have our county attorney looking into it as we're looking at it, because I've already looked into them. It would cost about $120,000 to get body cams for all the deputies that are assigned to the enforcement division. You know, it already cost us for the videos in our squad cars that we have to change out every 7 years, sometimes maybe a little bit sooner depending on technology, and it breaks down and they can't fix it anymore, so you got to replace it. So the 15 years I've been sheriff, we're in our 3rd set of cameras in the squad cars, and it costs about $100,000 to do that. And then we have to have a big enough database to save all that information. So the body cams, the issue that some people have with them is that we're going to be going into your house. So we're going to be recording everything that's in your house, wherever if it's up on your hat or if it's here. And if we go into a house where somebody's having some mental health issues or having other issues and they're naked or whatever, that's all going to be on the body cam. The issue with some public is that's foiable. So that means if you have a problem at your house, your neighbors or anybody can get that once the case is disposed of. So I don't have a problem with any of my deputies wearing a body cam and recording everything we do. And because when the cameras first came out, you know, some police officers were very skeptical about that. But now they won't drive a car. If the camera's down, the car gets parked. Nobody wants to take a car out that doesn't have a camera in it. So, because, you know, if you're doing your job and treating the public right, it's never going to hurt you.
Right.
And you know, and of course, if there's an officer out there doing something wrong, we want to know about it. And these cameras will be able to let us use progressive discipline and boot them out of law enforcement if they are not following the procedures and policies that are set forth for them. So all those great things are happening. So, yes.
To what do you attribute the improvement in Benton Harbor?
The what?
The improvement in Benton Harbor in terms of the...
Well, what do I contribute to the improvement?
Why do you think it's happened?
Why do I think it's happened?
Yeah.
More people have gotten involved. The Boys and Girls Club have tripled in size. Dr. Seward, who is the superintendent of Benton Harbor, is working hard to keep children in school, because we all know that there's no hope unless you have an education. So Dr. Seward's biggest priority is making the young people stay in school, and they have some truancy officers that are going out and checking when children don't show up to school, because that's our job. That child is not going to come to school if someone's not making them, and if they're not making them, he's taking it very personal and is going out to check why they're not in school. And then the Boys and Girls Club, who gets funding from a golf outing that Whirlpool does each year, that I think this past year they they raised $1.7 million in their golf outings. So every year they're giving the Boys and Girls Club about $1.5, $1.6 million to operate that. Jeff Fettig understands that to get people out of poverty, they have to have education. So I think those are two of the big change in Benton Harbor, that we're keeping more of our children in school where they need to be. Now, there's dropouts all over the county, but Benton Harbor was having 50% of their children drop out of school. So that is a serious problem, and Dr. Seawood took that very seriously since he's been there, and I just think you've made big improvements. And I think Sam Harris, Mingo, and Lang, as the three police chiefs before Dan McGinnis, were addressing those issues too. So I don't know if you guys remember Sam Harris. He became my chief deputy for a while until he went up to Kalamazoo and became their chief deputy. He's retired now in Arkansas. He calls me every now and said how warm it is down there. So, and he was a Chicago cop for what, 25 years, Sam was. Then Al Mingo, who was their chief of police, was a state police officer for 25 years. So, and Dan McGinnis comes from the rank and files of Benton Harbor. So but those, I think, are the part of the improvements, just addressing those social issues that we all need to do to make things better for everybody in our communities. So we'll keep working on that. I know that we're there every year. We assist Benton Harbor for the last 7 years, maybe 8 years now, is that we do extra patrols in Benton Harbor. We have 2 double cars on every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then if the chief wants other days covered, we will try to cover those to help them, and we help share the call volume with them. And the reason we're able to do that is that Whirlpool donates $50,000 and the county matches that with $50,000 to be able to do that extra patrol. At times, Whirlpool has donated as much as $75,000, and Whirlpool has also given the city police department about $100,000 a year to keep their police agency going. So.
How much are the crime stats down? Any percentage that you can cite?
I don't think I have that with me right now, but they are down. I would have to get those percentage, but the number of people coming to jail are less. 10 years ago, I was booking in 9,000 people a year, and now we're booking in about 7,000 people a year. So that means things are getting better in our community. I have a breakdown to show you in the next presentation on the demographics of the jail, how many Caucasians, how many African Americans, and how many others, that I'll show you when I do that presentation.
And perhaps the presentation will answer my question, but with Ferguson, Missouri's issues so much in the news, I'm wondering if you find it difficult with your staff to deal with racism. Do you feel it's a problem among your folks? No,
I don't. Do I feel there's a problem amongst the deputies with racism that you've seen, or some of the issues that have happened in other cities?
I'm sure you're watching.
Oh yeah, I'm reading through the report from Ferguson right now. So it's online, so it's a very interesting report. If you can't find it, call me. I'll make you a copy. It's like 200 and some pages though, but I'll make you a copy if you want to read it. I think it's important that we learn, to do better things, because the first few pages that I'm reading in Ferguson is that the city leaders were doing things that other cities don't do, like if you got a speeding ticket, usually if you get a speeding ticket and don't pay for it here in Michigan, you get your license suspended until you pay for the ticket and get your license reinstated. There they issued a warrant. So it sounds like in that report that they were trying to do more things to make revenue for the city. So, yeah, so we can't do that, I would not want to see that, but like I say, I've driven through St. Louis and stuff, but I can't tell you what goes on there because I've never really stopped there,
Or been stopped.
Yeah, or been stopped there.
As a deputy, I think we have a diverse group. We have females, males, Hispanic, black males. We work with, and black females, we work with
Yeah.
all kinds. And what we think, because I asked the same question, I'm like, anybody getting any, heat or anything from working? And be honest, we're getting more, we're sorry that you're in the position you are, and thank you for all you do. I get hugs from people. I've seen great, in our Berrien County, I think they treat us really well. So, and I
Yeah.
think it's how we treat them. I do think it goes back and forth, but, so
Yeah.
as far as a deputy and working the road, I think it's been good, thank goodness, because I do pray for safety for everybody, and I think our county's been really good, so.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you a video of the riots that happened in 2003 in Benton Harbor, just to show you what happened then and how things have improved since then, because we've not had those issues in the past. It was a very sad day for the history of Berrien County when we had those riots, and we addressed a lot of issues with all the police chiefs across the county. Worked very closely with the Michigan State Police. As the sheriff, my main responsibility is to work the unincorporated areas. And when I became sheriff, our dispatch center was separate from the Michigan State Police dispatch center. So there's state police cars out there and there's sheriff's cars out there. So if somebody called in a complaint to us, if we were busy, it would have to hold, okay? And there may be 2 or 3 state police cars out there that weren't tied up at that time, because a citizen doesn't care if it's a brown uniform or blue uniform. They want service. So what I changed is that we poll now, where is the county car, where is the state car, and we send the closest car. It's not about competition. It's about working together to address issues in our county. And once a month, all the detectives in Berrien County get together. We meet in the middle of the county in Berrien Springs, and they get together and talk about everything that's happening in their areas. We have a listserv, so if there's breaking and enterings, it's getting sent out to everybody. We also are on with St. Joe County and Elkhart in Indiana. We also have Van Buren County detectives and Cass County detectives on that. So if something happens, it's getting sent out right away, so there's lots of communications so that we can catch the person that has done a bad thing and bring them to justice, so we can get them to stop doing that,
I'm very naive. Could you give me the hierarchy? I mean, you can't overrule like a Lincoln Township policeman, and a state policeman doesn't have Trump power over you, or
No, she was asking what's the pecking order for the state police, the sheriff's department, and the local departments.
Yeah.
I'm only responsible for the people in brown uniforms, and the chief of Lincoln Township, St. Joe Township, St. Joe City are responsible for those officers, and then the state police are responsible for the troopers. Now, we have jurisdiction in the whole county. The municipalities have jurisdictions in their little area. Now we do use them to back us up if it's just outside of their area. And of course, the state police have jurisdiction in the whole state of Michigan. But we have 44 miles of I-94. So in the wintertime, we have a lot of resources when all those accidents are happening, a lot of resources on 94 between the state police and all the local departments and the sheriff's department. Now, one thing that has changed, I got to give kudos to Captain Mike Brown of the 5th District. During those bad storms, he brought extra troopers in here to help us on 94, because we have all those secondary roads, so we can't all be out on 94. Some of us got to respond to those accidents that are happening on the secondary roads.
Yeah.
So, but we all have a very good working relationship. Dan Sullivan is the chief here in Lincoln Township. Ross Bates is in St. Joe Township. He's been there since 1973. And then Mark Clapp is the chief of St. Joe. Dan McGinnis is of Benton Harbor. Don Divis is Waterville Elite. Randy Pompey is Coloma Township. That also covers Coloma City. We got Jim Mullum, who's the chief of Niles. Then you skip over to Buchanan, you have Bill Marks, who's the city manager and the chief of police, but then he has an assistant chief, Tim Gaines, who oversees the day-to-day operations. Three Oaks is Denny Buller. He's retired from the Sheriff's Department and became the chief down there. Paul Tolliver just became the new chief of Berrien Springs, Orinoco Township. He just retired as my captain from the Sheriff's Department. And we have Larry Pitchford over in New Buffalo, and then Todd Taylor up in Chickamine Township. So we got a lot of things. And there's, besides the police departments, I work with all the fire departments, and there's 26 fire departments in Berrien County.
Has it affected their, well, I guess it's a political question, by making people public safety officers and making them firemen and policemen?
Well, that's,
Does
has,
that go in the presentation?
oh, no, I don't have that in there.
Okay.
So we have two cities, Benton Harbor and St. Joe, that have become public safety officers. They've worked that out. Lots of training, because now you got to train for police and fire. So St. Joe seems to work out very well there. Benton Harbor, they have minimal resources, but Dan McGinnis has been working very hard on that to make sure everybody's trained properly, and he will call Benton Township or St. Joe City for assistance if there's a fire, if it's needed. So with the fire departments, there's all kinds of backup. Now, if Benton Harbor has a major fire, Dan will call and ask for assistance from us and the state police to come and help while they're doing that fire.
You have to call and ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
You
Or
don't just supersede and come in and say you need some help.
yeah, usually our deputies are right there if they need help.
Okay.
You know, if there's a major call someplace, our deputies are going to come in and meet with their commanding officer to see if they need any help.
Okay.
Or Dan McGinnis will be waking me up at 2 o'clock in the morning saying he needs help. So we work all those things out. And so if they're fighting the fire and they don't have anybody left, they try to leave a couple cars on the road, but if not, they call for us and the state police to help them while that fire is going on.